In the dim glow of a cavernous rehearsal hall, Michael Jackson moved like a man chasing perfection. Each step, each spin, each whispered breath carried the weight of a comeback the world demanded from him. The This Is It concerts were approaching, and with them came the storm: financial strain, the glare of media scrutiny, and the quiet, suffocating pressure of expectation. Though his body danced, his spirit trembled. Night after night, while Los Angeles slept, a single window in his rented Carrollwood mansion remained lit. Behind it, Michael lay awake, turning restlessly on smooth sheets that refused to cradle him into sleep. At 3:17 a.m., exhausted and hollow-eyed, he rose again. His pen scratched weakly across the pages of a journal, a place where fears had learned to speak freely. Can't sleep, mind racing. I have to be perfect. The mansion, silent and sprawling, offered no comfort. Only the ticking clock answered him. His fight with insomnia was not new. But this time it threatened everything. As the pressures mounted, Michael reached for help. And help came in the form of Dr. Conrad Murray, a private physician whose calm demeanor hid a man wrestling with his own needs and debts. Their first conversation unfolded in a quiet sitting room, sunlight pooling at their feet. Michael, gentle and soft-spoken, revealed a truth he had hidden from the world. He could no longer sleep. Not naturally. Not peacefully. Not at all. He asked the doctor for stronger relief, something powerful enough to silence the roaring thoughts that stole his nights. Murray, experienced and cautious, hesitated. He knew the risks, knew what hospital-grade sedatives could do outside the safety of sterile walls. Yet he also knew what saying no might cost him. The position offered was lucrative, life-changing, impossible to ignore. Michael, sensing the hesitation, leaned forward with a plea that felt like a confession. He spoke of the 50 shows waiting for him, the world expecting nothing less than magic, and the fear that he wouldn't be able to deliver. Murray listened, torn between medical ethics and the growing desperation in Michael's voice. No agreement was spoken that day, but a door had opened. The nights that followed were worse. Michael paced across his bedroom at 2:58 a.m., the polished floors cold beneath his feet. He whispered fragments of melodies into the dark, trying to calm a mind that refused its own rest. Dr. Murray came and went, carrying a small medical bag filled with mild sleep aids that proved powerless against years of insomnia. Each night he tried something new, a pill, a technique, a monitored rest. Each night Michael woke hours earlier than he should have, exhausted and trembling. The pressure outside the mansion grew louder. Tour managers called Murray at all hours, their voices sharp with frustration. He can't keep missing rehearsals. He looks drained, Conrad. He won't make it through 50 nights. Murray could only respond with the truth. He was trying. But Michael's body had ceased responding to ordinary solutions. And the clock kept ticking. One night, or perhaps morning, the two had become the same. Michael sat on the edge of his bed, shoulders trembling with exhaustion. Murray packed his equipment quietly, ready to leave. It was then that Michael spoke, his voice weaker than the shadows around him. He said nothing worked. Nothing helped. Nothing silenced the thoughts long enough for true sleep. Murray tried to reassure him, tried to remind him of the dangers. But Michael's desperation was a living thing, pulsing through the room. He insisted that he had used something stronger before, a medication that delivered the only true rest he had known in years, propofol. Murray froze. He explained the risks, the need for machines and trained staff, the dangers of using such an anesthetic inside a bedroom. But Michael pressed on. His voice broke not with anger, but with exhaustion, the kind that dissolves a person from the inside. He promised it would be temporary. Just until the concerts start, he whispered. After that, I won't need it anymore. The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling like dust. Murray looked into the eyes of a man carrying the world, a man who had spent decades building wonder for others while draining himself dry. And slowly, against judgment and instinct, he nodded. It was a moment neither man understood fully, a quiet agreement that would set the tragedy in motion. The pact was sealed, and the descent had begun. While Michael battled sleepless nights, Dr. Conrad Murray wrestled with demons of his own. Away from the mansion's marble halls, his phone vibrated with reminders of overdue payments, legal notices, and messages from creditors whose patience had worn thin. He was a doctor with a reputation to protect, yet debt followed him like an unshakable shadow. The position caring for Michael wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline. The salary promised stability, respect, and relief from years of financial missteps. But that stability came with a cost. The more Murray depended on the paycheck, the more he feared displeasing the man who provided it. He answered Michael's late-night calls without hesitation. He stayed awake while the world slept. He quieted his doubts in exchange for security. Slowly, subtly, necessity became obligation. And obligation became dependency. A routine began to form in the Carrollwood mansion, a ritual born from desperation and secrecy. At impossible hours, when even the city's hum quieted, Murray would prepare a small table beside Michael's bed. Vials, syringes, saline bags, tools arranged with precision and guilt. Michael would lie back, eyes heavy with exhaustion, surrendering to the process that had become his only doorway to sleep. Each night followed the same pattern, Murray adjusting the dosage, whispering reassurances. Michael's breathing growing softer, slower, and the house staff passing silently in the hallway, their faces etched with unease. They saw more than they spoke. They whispered among themselves, but held their tongues. This was Michael Jackson, the man, the mystery, the icon, and they felt powerless to challenge the circle forming around him. Some nights, they lingered by the door longer than necessary, hoping someone else would intervene. But no one did. The ritual continued. The effects of the sleepless nights, and the chemically forced sleep that followed, soon spilled into Michael's days. In the rehearsal studio, choreographers exchanged worried glances. Michael's movements, once electric, now flickered with exhaustion. He missed cues, stumbled on steps he had invented, and faded during vocal runs. Production directors, under pressure from deadlines and expectations, turned their frustration toward Murray. Fix this, they urged him in hushed but urgent conversations. He needs to be at 100%. Whatever you're doing, it's not enough. Murray tried in small ways to pull back. He reduced the doses. He attempted to reset Michael's sleep pattern. He offered alternatives that were quickly dismissed by a man too tired to gamble with trial and error. The friction grew quietly but steadily. Michael pushed for what he believed he needed. Murray resisted just enough to feel responsible, but not enough to break the cycle. The circle tightened, and all around them, the pressure of the upcoming tour loomed like a gathering storm. One evening, as rehearsals emptied and the mansion settled into dim silence, Michael sat with Murray in a rare moment of stillness. His voice trembled with a vulnerability he rarely shared. He spoke of the fans, millions of them, who had waited years for his return. He spoke of his children watching him rehearse, proud but unaware of the weight he carried. He spoke of the fear, the deep, relentless fear, of disappointing those who believed in him. Murray listened, caught between empathy and dread. He had watched Michael crumble under the strain, and in that moment, he felt the enormity of the man's loneliness. In a quiet voice, heavy with promise, Murray assured him he would help him get through the tour. Whatever it took, whatever it required. It was not signed or spoken again. But that night, a dangerous pact settled between them, a moral line blurred by fear, hope, and dependency. From that moment forward, Murray was no longer just a doctor. He was Michael's last refuge. And the path forward grew darker. Then came the night everything shifted. Michael lay restless, his body refusing the familiar slide into unconsciousness. The propofol, usually swift and predictable, seemed to take longer, its effects delayed without explanation. Minutes passed, then more. Michael's agitation rose with each second. His breathing quickened. His hands trembled. The exhaustion sharpened into panic. He begged Murray not to leave him. Not now, not when his only escape seemed suddenly out of reach. His voice cracked with desperation, pleading for rest that his body refused to give. Murray, torn between caution and compassion, made a choice that foreshadowed the tragedy to come. He increased the dose, hoping to ease the anxiety clawing at Michael's nerves. But the air in the room had shifted. The unease grew thicker. The ritual no longer felt familiar. It felt perilous. In the dim light of that early morning, the bond that tied doctor and patient tightened one final time, and set the stage for a disaster neither fully understood until it was too late. On the day before everything changed, something unexpected happened. Michael delivered his strongest rehearsal in weeks. The dancers watched with renewed hope as he floated across the stage with a flash of his old brilliance. Smooth turns, electrifying footwork, a voice that pierced through fatigue for one dazzling moment. The crew clapped, encouraged, and whispered that maybe, just maybe, he was finally turning a corner. But behind the curtain, Dr. Murray watched with a different kind of concern. He recognized the signs: adrenaline masking exhaustion, ambition disguising a body pushed beyond its limit. Michael's movements, though sharp, carried an unspoken fragility. His hands trembled slightly when he gripped the microphone. His breath caught too often between verses. When the rehearsal ended and the cheers faded, Michael pulled Murray aside. He confessed, in a faint voice, that he hadn't slept properly in weeks. The energy they'd witnessed on stage was borrowed, fleeting, drawn from a well that was dangerously close to empty. And Murray understood. The show of strength was a final flare before burnout. That night, in the quiet of the mansion, Murray did what he should have done long before. He suggested they postpone the first concert, or cancel one of the upcoming dates. His tone was firm, bordering on pleading. Michael's health was failing, and the risks of continuing were too high. But Michael's reaction was immediate and filled with panic. "They'll destroy me in the press," he said, his voice trembling. "You don't understand. If I pull out now, they'll call me washed up, finished." His eyes filled with fear not of sickness, but of disappointment, of letting down the millions who waited, the children who believed in him, the legacy he'd spent a lifetime building. He begged Murray for one thing. Just one more night. One real night of sleep. "That's all I need. Please help me." The plea hung heavy in the air. It was not the request of a superstar, but of a weary, cornered soul. And Murray, worn by exhaustion, torn by sympathy, and trapped by his own sense of obligation, found himself nodding once more. The ritual began again, but this time it felt different. The room was dim, the curtains drawn. Michael lay on the bed, frail but grateful, his voice barely above a whisper as he thanked Murray for helping him find rest at last. Murray prepared the anesthesia with mechanical precision, though his hands trembled slightly, from fatigue, from fear, from the unshakable feeling that the line they had been tiptoeing along had finally blurred too far. He adjusted the infusion. He checked the monitors. He watched Michael's eyes grow heavy, then close, sliding slowly into the chemical sleep he had come to depend on. For a moment, Murray stayed beside him, listening to the soft rhythm of his breathing. But exhaustion weighed heavily on the doctor. His phone buzzed with unanswered messages. His mind pulled elsewhere, finances, obligations, responsibilities waiting beyond the bedroom door. Just for a moment, he told himself. Just a quick step outside. And he walked out. The door clicked shut. When Murray returned, the room felt colder. Michael lay still, too still. Something in the air had shifted, as though the silence itself sensed what had happened. The doctor rushed forward, calling Michael's name, shaking him gently, then desperately. No response. His breathing was shallow, then faltering. Panic erupted. Murray scrambled, attempting CPR with frantic urgency. His voice cracked as he shouted for help. Staff rushed in, faces paling as they realized the gravity of the moment. Yet precious minutes slipped away. The 911 call was delayed, confusion, fear, disbelief holding them all hostage as seconds turned into tragedy. Attempts to revive him continued, chaotic and hopeless. But the room, once filled with quiet routine, had become the epicenter of a catastrophe no one could undo. And then, there was nothing more anyone could do. The mansion filled with sirens, officers, and investigators moving with methodical calm through a scene that felt frozen in shock. Murray sat alone on a small chair in a corner of the room, hands trembling, eyes hollow. His mind replayed every decision, every moment, every step that had led them here, and the realization settled over him like a crushing weight. News began to trickle out, first whispers, then breaking alerts. Across the world, screens lit up. Michael Jackson rushed to hospital. Critical condition. Confirmed dead. Fans gathered outside the mansion in growing numbers, their grief spreading across continents within minutes. Candles flickered. Voices cried out. An era had ended. And inside the house, silence claimed the spaces Michael once filled with music, laughter, and restless thoughts. As the world mourned, images of Michael's life began to play, moments of triumph, tenderness, and extraordinary talent. And over those images, his own voice echoed from a past interview. Words once said with hope, now haunting with truth. As in his voice, "I give all of me, all of my love, all of my art, because that's what I was created to do. But sometimes the price of creating magic is giving a piece of yourself you can't get back." And so ended the final night of the man who gave the world wonder, and paid for it with the silence that followed.
It. See, the thing is, artists seem to get in the way of the music. Get out of the way of the music. Don't write the music. Let the music write itself. Oh boy, I think to give in the best way I can through song and through dance and through music. I mean, I am committed to my art. I believe that all art has as its ultimate goal the union between the material and the spiritual, the human and the divine. I believe that to be the reason for the very existence of art. And I feel I was chosen as an instrument to just give music and love and harmony to the world, to children of all ages, and adults and teenagers,